Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Blazers just lost to the Thunder, but as Colton said, it was a good game and ends their three-game winning streak. They're undefeated with this lineup. I don't know if that's true, but I think so, probably. At least as the starting lineup. And yeah, I'm not mad at that loss. My optimism is not rattled at all. We definitely were high last week. If you saw our video, you probably saw us about the happiest we've ever been on this podcast. Maybe there's some of the drafts we got pretty happy too. But what'd you think tonight against the Thunder? Was there any holes you saw, or is it just continuing development, Colton? So let's start with you.
Yeah, so really quick, I'll try and just run down the list of like the starters really quick because then we can talk about the bench. I just want to give the shout out to Tamani Kamara because the guy, even when like the last time they played the Thunder, he had 2 points. But look at Shea's stat line tonight. So 7 of 19 from the field. Okay. He had 28 points because he was 14 of 14 from the line. There were
Classic
some
Shea.
real questionable calls that he got. He had a goaltend call where he threw the ball from the hit the bottom of the backboard, and he got the goaltend and won. It was very questionable. But he was putting SGA in a straitjacket. I really liked what I was seeing from him, and there was some questionable foul calls as usual. So I liked what I saw out of Tamani tonight. He was playing good. Jeremy, he has played well in this stretch. He was only 3 for 10 from the field tonight, but he had 6 rebounds, couple steals. If Jeremy rebounds the ball and gets over, 4 rebounds a game and is like engaged on defense and doesn't take 25 shots a game, I'm okay with it. If he's not jacking up the ball, you know what I mean? If he's not ball stopping, I'm okay with what he brings to the floor. Donovan, what else can you say? The guy's third in the NBA in blocks, right? He had 2 more blocks tonight. 4 of 7 from the field. He had a couple missed opportunities in there, but he's a rookie. He's been playing really well. Shaedon Sharp, he had a couple like loose handle moments in here and there. The Thunder have a great defensive team. They're the 2 seed. They were the 1 seed last year. It's about the toughest team you could play on the road. They have a great crowd. Um, he was 4 of 8 from three. He scored like 12 points in the fourth quarter. Again, I think that there was some questionable no calls here and there. I think he had a solid game. Yes, he was only 6 of 16 from the field, but I still thought he had a solid game, turnovers aside. And then Scoot, really quickly. So Scoot left the game early this game because of a thigh bruise. I think they were just being a little overcautious. But here's what I'll say about Scoot in his minutes tonight. So you look down the stat line, he was 3 of 8 from the field, right? So I saw one move that I really liked from him where he used his body and bumped the guy off of him and then laid it in. I need more of that from him using the strength that he's got. He had 8 assists. Okay. One thing I noticed when he went out, yes, he had 4 turnovers. The whole team had turnover issues because of the Thunder, but going down the stretch, the team was not really orchestrated in the offense with Banton. Yes, Banton has had very good flashes of impressive scoring, but the team could not get into the offense down the stretch. I know Scoots had his up and downs, but he is a point guard. The team needed a point guard.
He
That's
pushes the
all.
ball. That's
He
maybe the
pushes the
biggest thing
ball.
is it just doesn't stop with him. He's just constantly doing something. He's either getting downhill or moving it quick.
He pushes the ball. He gets them into the offense, usually, whether there's a positive result or a negative. He had 8 assists in 27 minutes. He's 20, he's again 20 years old. He was plus minus, he was a net neutral tonight against a tough team. So I liked what I saw from his passing tonight specifically. So go ahead, Riley.
Yeah, in the famous words of Michael B. Jordan, I'm not too worried about it. I just don't really see it as an issue for our long-term outlook. Where the Thunder, they lost last night to the Spurs in a pretty close game, or it was a contested game. They weren't going to lose 2 nights in a row. They're 12-4. They're a good team. They're probably technically Golden State's at the top of the West because they have less losses, but OKC has two more wins, so it's kind of a wash. They're right there at the top of the West. They have a lot of talent. They look really good this year, and I felt like the Blazers competed in this game. I mean, considering that we were thinking this was going to be a team that was trying to capture the flag into this offseason, the fact that they're competing on the road with OKC, who's trying not to lose back-to-back games, that's better than I would have expected. And just looking through the stats, I don't see anything that's that concerning. I see a lot of guys who, if they'd made two more shots, that we would have won the game. I mean, we have just sort of a little bit of a colder shooting night. 3 for 8 if that had been 4 for 8, 6 for 16 if that had been 8 for 16. You're talking about a totally different outcome. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's all, if. I'm not saying like that we were almost there or anything. It's the NBA, everything's close. But yeah, I mean, these are small adjustments to be made. You're not going to win them all, especially when you're a team that we didn't think was going to win any. So, not a time to panic, not a time to change anything up. I like the way that this team's looking. Ship Anthony and Ayton for pennies if we have to. I'm staying on that train. I fully believe that the team that's on the floor right now is our team moving forward. And kind of an interesting thing that I didn't expect. Kirby called this before I did, but I agree, and Kirby can talk about it more if he wants. But I think Grant is a pretty good fit on this team, at least for the time being. Maybe not forever. He is older than the rest of the guys, but he's not ancient, and he's a pretty good, like, calming presence who you can go to for a bucket when you need it. I kind of like him out there. I feel like he's stepped up his defense a little bit to match what some of the other guys are doing on defense. Um, yeah, everybody had issues tonight. Everybody had turnover issues. Everybody had missed assignments on defense, but that's okay.
Not
It's
too
gonna
bad.
happen.
Not too bad
Grant,
though.
Grant really fits into, I think, what Chauncey is trying to do. And I know every time I bring up Chauncey, I get eye rolls on this podcast, but I think his his system is built, for a lot of long switchable defenders, and that's exactly what Jeremy is. He can guard pretty much at least 1 through 4, not elite level, but he can definitely do it. He's capable. He's up to the task. And when he's surrounded by a bunch of dogs out there like Kamara and bunch of athletes, Scoot and Shaden. God dang, it's so cool seeing like this team that we've been begging for. It's so cool just saying that. Like, oh shit, Sharp 30. Okay, I'm looking at. I was gonna mention that the game I would rather talk about tonight, honestly, is the Atlanta game than the OKC game. I didn't get a chance to watch the OKC game. I did watch the entire second half of that Atlanta game. Looking at the stats there, like Shaden 32 minutes, Scoot 30 minutes, Kamara 35 minutes, Clingan 22 minutes, bunch of bench guys. Like that is just so lovely to see. In that game, I was just I mean, I think all of us feel this way and have seen it, but just couldn't help it. Every defensive possession, I would just kept saying defense, defense, defense. It's just the type of defense I don't really think I've ever seen the Blazers play, flying around, making every shot tough. I mean, they pretty much had Atlanta bottled up for a lot of that game. They didn't allow Trae Young to get off. They didn't really, especially the starters, didn't shoot the ball super well in that game. But Shaden obviously came through down the stretch. He looks like it's the birth of a superstar to me. And then the bench came through as well. Banton had another good game. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say other than it's so fun seeing exactly what we hoped for the last couple of years finally out on the floor and seeing what their strengths and weaknesses are so that adjustments can be made later. And really right now it's pretty obvious the strengths defense and Chauncey finally able to play his system and Shaden kind of taking the reins as the offensive star of the team. The next step is going to be Scoot. If he can make that step up, make that next jump, then this team really has a crazy ceiling.
I mean, go ahead,
I
Riley. Go
just want to
ahead.
make one real quick point, just building off of what Curb said. I've seen quite a few people online. I'm addressing Rip City here right now, who are just kind of like going after Shaden's throat over the mistake that he made at the end of the game, not going up for the dunk. Like people are being mean about that. And like the kid's 21 years old. He won the game for us. He missed a couple of free throws. That was a mistake. He got an earful from Chauncey. He's gonna learn. He's gonna figure it out. He's not gonna do that again. Everybody makes mistakes. And if it was just like a little bit of critique, I wouldn't even say anything. But people are saying like, that he blew it, that he almost blew the game for us, that he's, got to use his
2 points.
head. Like, come on, guys. He's a kid. He's figuring it out. He's doing amazing. Like Kirby said, I feel like we're watching the birth of a superstar. And that was an epic end to that game that was largely on his shoulders.
Yeah, I agree. So I know we went to Atlanta. I just want to make one quick reference here. So last year, the Blazers lost to Oklahoma City by 70 points. This
Oh,
the Blazers lost to Oklahoma City on the road. They were right there with them until about 1 minute left. So, and they're putting up with Oklahoma City's, best punch. They played the starters the whole time. It wasn't one where you're like, the score was closer than it seemed. No, it was a close game the entire way. And this is the kind of basketball we've been wanting to see. Like, if we have games like this all year where they're close losses, but the young guys are playing, and you see the development as the year goes on, where young guys get better, this is the kind of losses we can handle, right? This is what we've been pounding on this podcast, maybe more so than other podcasts locally, of we want to see Scoot, Shaden, Tumani, Denny, Klingon. That is what we've been wanting to see. And this is why you don't need the ants of the world to kind of be the roadblock. Clear the runway. I'm sorry. It sucks, but you just got to do it. Now, here's what I want to say about Banton. Okay. Banton, we kind of wrote it off early. I said going into the season, I was kind of a little bit on the Banton wagon. You guys were kind of a little bit more off, but then I kind
I
of
was
was with
definitely
you
off.
guys for a little bit. I kind of was with you guys, but I think Banton, let's hold on. Let's see a little bit farther, because Banton could be a guy where you sign him for like a 2-year deal for like a 25 mil, like a 12 mil. And that sounds like a lot because our mind is warped by NBA contracts or something. But see where he's at as like that spark off the bench, tall guard, right? And like the scoring guy off the bench that can kind of be both guard spots. Because Riley, you said it, or one of you guys, I can't remember who just said, Shaden's that offensive guy, right? Donovan Clingan can be your defensive rim protector anchor. If Scoot is that playmaker guy, and you're kind of just slotting these guys into these roles, right? You're kind of just seeing it. Tumani is your wing
Wrong.
lockdown guy. You're kind of just seeing these roles slot, and the Thunder. This is what the Thunder did. The Thunder kind of have these young guys. Like they have Wiggins. Wiggins is that shooter guy. The Blazers need that shooter guy. They need the guy like that. Well, the Blazers could have their big wing backup guy, right? So you can kind of see the let Joe cook thing kind of coming together somewhat right here. So let's just keep going. And another guy is Robert Williams. Robert Williams is a guy we've talked about trading away, and it's like, man, tonight he didn't really have that good of a game, and I still think maybe he's probably better trading away because you just don't want him to get hurt. But some games, man, that guy is just the game wrecker. Like there was like 3 games in a row where he's like, man, he gets deflections, blocks, dunking every time down the floor. He just changes
So
games.
springy. He's such a quick leaper. He's off the floor before anyone knows. Like he's out
Yeah.
there deflecting and block. Yeah, that's his strength is even with all the lower leg injuries, he's still a quick leaper at 6'9". He's plays a lot bigger than that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, in the loss, there's with all the turnovers, with the bad shooting, there was just still a lot of good stuff. And that's what you want in a rebuilding year. And that's why even with the losses and the tanking, it can still be fun to go young and have a young team. We just didn't get to see it last year, and last year was very depressing, as we all know. It just was.
What's this is a hard one to forecast. I don't really know what's the kind of package you guys could see for Aiton or Simons or both. Like obviously you're gonna want picks, probably. You're gonna have to take back salary. Um, you maybe want a young guy instead of a pick. Really, with both of those guys, it's like we said, clear the runway. It almost doesn't matter really that much getting a ton of assets back for them. Like you're not going to be able to get a pick and a young guy, first rounder and a young guy most likely. Um, but like with like sort of a veteran guy coming back on a big deal, or like several guys that sort of have more mid-level deals. Is there anything out there you can think of that would make sense for either one of those guys?
Well, without running the trade machine beforehand, the team that I would look to for the for the Aiton would be the Pelicans. I just spoiled it because the Pelicans are just that weird team. They're just
Trying to
injured, don't
compete.
have a center. They're trying to compete without. I think they might be finally gonna blow it up, and then building around like Herb and like all those. They still have Alvarado, and they've got.
Bro, Zion is hurt again. That's
Zion's
crazy.
done. Yeah, he's done. Ingram, they'll probably get rid of him. Like, what are they going to do? But if they do try and stick together and just grit their teeth and like stick, they need a center. So, whatever you can kind of get from them, maybe just some seconds and just add to your second hoard and just get salary like that and whatever salary you can get, because I don't think you're going to get first, and that's okay. Because, like I said before, you got Tumani Kamara, who I think is maybe going to be your starting three at this point, just going forward from what he's shown. If he gets even better, I mean, look at that. You traded Nurkic for basically Nurkic for your starting three. That's a fleece, in my opinion. I don't care. Plus, whatever, if you can get whatever for Aiton. So I think that's a good move. So yeah, that's what I would look to do for Aiton. For Ant, what you can do is kind of what we've talked about in the past. I mean, you look for Orlando is kind of your hope at this point, but
Lakers maybe, although
Lakers, I don't think so.
they
Dolphins,
finally got a shooter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
Dolphins,
kind of look to teams that need a shooter. It's man, I was thinking about it. I might be judging them a little too hard just because it's been several years of kind of disaster for Anthony Simons, really. But I was just trying to imagine a scenario where he fits, and I was struggling. He's just such a problem on defense. His skill set is really just like we've joked about on this podcast before, pound dribble for 20 seconds and take a step back three and then get a mid-range jumper hit over him on the other side. It's a tough trade-off. The analytics don't probably aren't super great for him. Maybe he just needs more to maybe he's just one of those guys that would do better around more talent though. Like if you went to a veteran type of team. I think Riley made the joke that we should trade him to Milwaukee for Brooke Lopez or something like that, just to get salary back. Then we could sell to the Bucks that hey, Dame and Anthony backcourt. Like you don't know if it might work. You don't know. Can an Anthony and Damian backcourt coexist? I don't know. We
Don't look
still
at any of our podcast videos from the last 5 years. I promise we haven't talked about it ad nauseum.
yeah. I mean,
So
the Magic are 9-6 right now, so they can maybe use a little bit of a burst. Uh, Also, we could laugh at the fact that the 76ers are 2-12. Um,
so I
yeah,
have
go ahead, Riley.
I have two ideas for potential trades, and I'm gonna have to put a dollar in the jar for both because they're both basically cuss words on this podcast at this point.
I already know that one of them is going to be
Me too. I
somebody
know.
on the Nets, probably.
So the first one I was just going to mention real quick, and this is just kind of more of a general thought, is that apparently the Lakers are looking for a center. They're looking for a center that they can pair because they have like a big lack of size. This was news that came out today that LeBron wants to play with a real center. Um, and they have a lot of guys that they could. I mean, because Anthony Davis, it plays more of like a power forward. They want someone who can be more of a center while Davis is playing the power forward. So anyway, that's one rumor that's out there. I don't really know where that one goes. I don't know if DeAndre Ayton's really the right fit for that. But they do have salary they could send back. That said, I saw some percolating rumors earlier today, and I just looked it up to confirm. And this was a trade rumor, trade idea, big four-team deal that would see the Trailblazers sending DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant, which would be that would be a lot of pieces, but it would also clear a lot of space. And what we'd be getting back is Bojan Bogdanovic, a 2025 first round pick from the Thunder, which is not probably going to be a great pick. 2028 first round pick from the Nets via the Knicks, which is probably, going to be okay. And of course, Ben Simmons, as a way to get a lot of salary back. It would basically be a way for us to clear those guys off of our salary.
I
And
would
it wouldn't
Two
necessarily
first
fix,
round picks too.
yeah,
I
it
would do
wouldn't
it.
necessarily fix our Anthony Simons problem, but it would give us back a couple of picks and a lot of salary, that we could, essentially waive, yeah, at some point, or, just let expire in the very near future. I'm not necessarily against it. I think Jeremy would be the, bigger bummer to lose because I do think he has value, but we're gonna have to give up value. I mean, Aiton on his own is not gonna command what we need to get back. So it would clear the runway. It would, I don't really love playing Jeremy at the four. It's kind of working with this lineup because everybody's so switchable, I feel like. But I've always wanted him to play the three, but he's not the three of the future. We all know that. So I don't know. I'd probably do it just to get off of Aiton. I'd love if we could find a way to get Anthony in there, either like instead of Jeremy or, along with and bring in another
Not get
team.
first if you switch out Anthony for Jeremy. But I would love that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like, man, you're gonna have to make it's got to happen at this point. Like you can't continue to kick the can down the road with these two guys. You pretty much just got to bite the bullet. I don't think that either one of them is going to be increasing their trade value at any time. I think the start to this season was kind of their last opportunity to increase trade value. I don't think it's gonna happen at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going down the league and I'm trying to find a suitable fit, like maybe the Chicago Bulls if they want to try and upgrade on Kobe White, right? And I looked at his stats. He's averaging 20 a game, right? Which was kind of
Yeah, I
surprising.
don't know if that's an upgrade.
I mean, his, who knows? Who knows, right? It's kind of tough out there. It's kind of tough. I still think Orlando is such an obvious fit, but you look at what the Magic, I think kind of the overall vibe of the Blazers fandom of how like Anthony's defense is viewed is
Skewed, maybe.
not skewed, but it's like so negative that plus the analytics show it that it's just seeped out over the whole league that you're
Oh,
gonna get a second and that's it. Like you're gonna get salary and his value is very low right now. Like his
So
and his
be it.
shooting,
Let him
I
go.
I
Let him
know it
go.
sucks. It sucks.
it's if they would have traded him like 2 years ago, they would have gotten something back for him. Because man, that year that Dame was hurt and he closed the season and he was averaging like 25 and closing games and playing. Where is that guy gone? I don't know if the scouting reports just
It
caught
was
up
before
to
the
him.
contract. He played for the contract.
Yeah, he's
No.
uh
He's
he's
a good
regressed.
player. He is a good player. He needs to be surrounded by the right players to be like a top three player on a team. He has not been played, in my opinion, in his ideal environment. He has not been played as the sixth man off the bench,
That's his, yeah.
light scorer that he needs to be. It's so obvious, but just with the way that the roster has been, we just can't because that's the politics of where he's been. We just can't. So
That would be crazy if him and Billups and the team just came together and they're like, all right, just come off the bench and be the Jamal Crawford for this team, and it like works because he would be a crazy punch to come off the bench,
he'd be perfect
but
at.
but it would be such a demotion, that I just don't think he I don't think it would be good for business for him to do that. And I get that for him. Like it's probably better to demand a trade and move on. But if he was willing to check his ego and be like, all right, I understand this is the young guys team now, and I'll just be that like guy coming off the bench and getting shots up and like, playing like 20, 25 minutes a game maybe, then that would be his ideal role. You'd be able to hide him a little bit more on defense. He'd be playing against the second team on other teams rather than their starters. You wouldn't close games with them, all that stuff. But I don't know, maybe like, yeah, it does suck that the politics are just going to make it not be able to happen. But he's got to be looking at this team right now and realize they're so much more competitive when he's not on the floor. And like, you'd hope that you'd look at that and be like, okay, instead of like coming in and completely ruining this, like how can I come in and help contribute? And I'm sure he is thinking that, but he's if he does come back, he's gonna go right back into that starting role. Scoot's gonna be coming off the bench again, and all that shit's gonna go out the window.
I just want to give a shout out, which as I'm looking down the line, like this standings, because there's some wild standings if you guys go and look. Houston Rockets.
Cleveland, by the way,
Cleveland's
Jesus.
crazy. Well, obviously that's crazy, but Houston Rockets, you guys want to guess their record?
I just looked.
Riley, you want to guess?
Yeah, I know they're like,
Oh, darn it, you guys
I
both.
mean, they're like, they have like twice as many wins as losses. I don't know where they
Yeah,
are,
they're
but yeah,
11-5. I
yeah.
would not have guessed that they were that high up there. I mean, that's awesome. And that's where were they 2 years ago? Toiling around, you know? And they could be, in the market because not all their young guys can even get minutes on the floor. What if Jabari Smith's on the
I
move?
have a
So
question for you, Colton. That I was talking with Riley about this because you were very low on the Warriors. You have been in the last couple of years, and you were very low going into this
I
season. You thought
was,
they were pretty much done.
I
I think
was.
they started 10-2, which is like the fifth time they've done that under Kerr. I saw some stat that basically every time they started 10-2, they made a finals. Do you
That is
think
a
this
crazy
is
start.
do you think this is a aberration, or do you think they're going to be competing in the playoffs this year?
It's crazy because the last couple of years, I feel like I've been solid with my one prediction. A couple of years ago is the Kings, and then last year I was talking about the Timberwolves being good. Then this year it was like I'm saying the Warriors are going to be bad, and I've been wrong so far. Honestly, and their point differential has been really good, so it hasn't been like they've been just winning close games. Buddy's been fitting in really well. I think Clay was like the really boat anchoring for them last year, and Dallas has been bad.
Good
Um,
pun with the boat anchor.
yeah, you like that?
Captain Clay.
He's not quite the captain that he thinks he is. Uh, I I don't know. We'll see if it continues. If Steph stays healthy. I think that they lost Melton out here, season-ending surgery here, so that's a little bit of depth. I don't think that's going to sink them necessarily, but yeah, that's surprising to me. I didn't think they were going to be number one in the West at all, for sure, and I didn't think the Lakers were going to be number two either. I think this whole year has been wild. Like all the standings, the East being that bad, crazy. And I know we're running out of time.
Other than Cleveland.
Yeah, what a wild year.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in to the podcast. We're have to do it now because we're excited about this shit. Like it's been tough, like as we're the start to this season. We're like, oh man. But man, we got excited last week and still excited. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.